standing in my childhood dining room, a law degree clutched in one hand and a baby bump I could no longer conceal. I watched my father's face twist from shock to fury. "You're a disgrace," he spat. "Not welcome here. Not part of this family anymore." My mother's voice followed, sharp with her own brand of venom. "You chose failure, so sleep on the streets." Just like that, my homecoming dinner turned into an exile ceremony. They didn't even ask who the father was. If they had, their reaction would have been worlds different. But when you care more about the neighbor's whispers than your pregnant daughter's well-being, details like that don't seem to matter. Let me back up to explain how I got here. My name is Emily Carter, 25, and this story begins 6 years ago. I met Michael Hastings my freshman year at Yale. Out of thousands of students, what were the odds that someone from my small Indiana hometown would be in my pre-law program? But there he was, the son of my father's boss, looking as homesick as I felt. We bonded over memories of the county fair and complaints about East Coast winters. For 3 years of undergrad and 3 years of law school, we kept our relationship a secret, not out of shame, but because I knew my father. He'd either accuse me of gold digging or try to leverage my relationship for a promotion. The thought made my skin crawl. So, at Yale, we were the couple everyone knew. Back home, we were just two kids from the same town. Keeping it secret wore on us, but we planned to go public after graduation, when I could stand on my own achievements. Then, 2 pink lines appended our timeline. I found out I was pregnant in January of my final semester. Morning sickness hit during criminal procedure classes, and I hid my growing bump under oversized blazers during mock trials. Law school was grueling enough without growing a human at the same time. Michael was thrilled, and his parents were overjoyed when we told them. His mother, Margaret, started knitting baby blankets, and his father, Robert, opened a college fund before we'd even chosen names. "A grandchild to spoil," Robert had said, beaming. They wanted to throw us an engagement party and plan the wedding. The contrast to what awaited me at home was almost laughable, if it wasn't so heartbreaking. By graduation in May, I was 5 months pregnant and running out of ways to hide it. My flowing graduation robes helped, but the clock was ticking. Michael wanted to come with me to tell my parents, but I convinced him to wait. "Let me break the news first," I said. "Your dad can fly in tomorrow once they've processed it." How naive I was, thinking there'd be a tomorrow in my parents' house. The 12-hour drive home was torture. I rehearsed my speech 100 times, even prepared a PowerPoint showcasing my law degree, my job offer at a top Chicago firm, Michael's proposal, and our plans, evidence of success, stability, and love. Law school taught me that evidence matters, but some juries arrive with their verdict already written. I pulled into the driveway at 6:30 p.m., dinner time in the Carter household. Nothing had changed, same beige siding, same garden gnome mom called whimsical, same knot of dread in my stomach. "Emily," Mom greeted, her smile tight. "You've gained weight." Maternal warmth at its finest. The dining room smelled of pot roast and disappointment. Dad sat at the head of the table, halfway through his beer, barely glancing up. "Thought you'd be too fancy for family dinner now that you're a big-shot lawyer," he muttered. I bit back my usual sarcasm. "Stay calm, Emily. You're an adult. A pregnant adult with a law degree and a fiancé who loves you." "Actually, I have some news," I started. "Sit down," Mom interrupted, bustling in with plates. "Food's getting cold." So I sat, watching them eat and complain about the neighbors, the weather, the government, everything except my life. 20 minutes in, I couldn't take it anymore. I stood, my chair scraping the floor. "I need to tell you something." That's when Dad noticed my bump. His face cycled through colors, white, red, purple, like a chemistry experiment gone wrong. "You're pregnant," he said. Not a question, but an accusation. "Yes, you're a disgrace," he roared, slamming his hand on the table, making the dishes jump. "Not welcome here. Not part of this family anymore." Mom chimed in. "You chose failure, so sleep on the streets." No questions, no concern, no who's the father, or what are your plans. Just instant banishment. The cruelty took my breath away. "That's it?" I asked, voice steady despite the storm inside. Your pregnant daughter comes home with a Yale law degree, and you throw her out, no questions asked? Dad's voice dripped with disgust. What's there to ask? You've ruined your life. Pregnant and unwed. Probably don't even know who the father is. What will people say? There it was, the real issue. Not me, not their grandchild, but the gossip at church. I'm engaged, I said. The wedding's in August. I have a job lined up. Lies to make yourself feel better, Mom snapped. No decent man would have you now. Get out before someone sees you here. I stared at the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. 6 years of perfect grades, law review, top-tier job offers. None of it mattered because I was pregnant. Fine, I said, grabbing my suitcase. I'll go. But remember this moment. You chose your reputation over your daughter. Don't come crying back when he leaves you, Mom called as I reached the door. We won't be here. I paused, looking back. Actually, he's picking me up from the airport tomorrow. Thanks for the concern. The door slammed with a satisfying thud. I made it to my car before the rage hit. How dare they assume the worst? But beneath the anger was a hurt so deep I couldn't breathe. I sat in the driveway for 10 minutes, trying to figure out my next move. The town had limited options. A motel by the highway or a sketchy place downtown. I had savings from summer internships, but most went to bar exam prep. I called Michael from a McDonald's parking lot. How'd it go? He asked, hope in his voice. About as well as the Titanic, I said, laughing bitterly. They kicked me out. What? His shock was genuine. Laura, I'm so sorry. Where are you now? McDonald's parking lot. Figuring out if the motel still has hourly rates, or if they've gone upscale to daily. Absolutely not, he said. Dad's house has 12 bedrooms. You're staying there tonight. Michael, I can't just show up at your father's. You're carrying his grandchild. You're family. More family than those people who threw you out. 5 minutes later, Robert Hastings himself called. Emily, Michael told me what happened. I'm sending my driver. Where are you? Mr. Hastings, I can't. Where are you? He repeated, his tone firm. 20 minutes later, a black town car pulled into the McDonald's parking lot. The driver, James, took my suitcase without comment. The ride to the Hastings estate was surreal. I'd passed those gates countless times growing up, never imagining I'd enter them pregnant and homeless. The house was straight out of a magazine. Fountains, marble columns, windows gleaming like gold in the sunset. Robert met me at the door, all 6 feet 3 inches of him in a cashmere sweater, every inch the successful businessman. This was my father's boss, the man whose approval shaped careers at Hastings Industries. And here I was, a stray cat in his world. Emily, he said warmly, pulling me into a hug that surprised us both. Come in, sweetheart. You look exhausted. Sweetheart. My own father hadn't called me that since I was 5. The foyer was larger than my childhood home, with a chandelier worth more than my law school debt. But Robert led me to a cozy sitting room. Have you eaten? He asked. I'm fine. That wasn't a question. Maria, a staff member, appeared with a tray of food that looked like a 5-course meal. As I ate, the baby was apparently starving. Robert made calls in the next room. I caught snippets. Guest room prepared, shopping tomorrow. Whatever she needs. When he returned, he sat across from me. Michael tells me you have a job offer in Chicago. Kirkland & Ellis. Yes, I start in September, after the bar exam. Excellent firm. You'll do well. He paused. I know Gerald Carter has worked for my company for 17 years. Your relationship with Michael, your presence here, it will have no bearing on his employment. His job is safe as long as he performs adequately. The message was clear. My father might create his own problems, but they wouldn't come from Robert. Why are you being so kind to me? I asked quietly. Robert looked surprised. You're carrying my grandchild. You're the woman my son loves. You're a brilliant attorney who earned everything through merit. Why wouldn't I be kind? Your parents are fools. He said it bluntly. They're lost. I woke in the blue suite, a room larger than most apartments, with a bed like a cloud and a bathroom fit for a spa. My phone showed missed calls from unknown numbers and one from my sister, Rebecca, in Portland. I'd deal with those later. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. Margaret Hastings entered, impeccable despite a red-eye flight. "Emily," she said, hugging me carefully. "I'm so sorry we're meeting like this. I wanted to fly out for graduation, but Robert said you two were keeping things quiet." She sat on the bed, studying me with kind eyes. "How are you feeling?" "Morning sickness is better now," I said. "Emotionally, I'm processing. Yesterday I had parents. Today I don't." Margaret took my hand. "You have us. I know it's not the same, but you have us." Michael arrived that afternoon, pulling me into his arms. "I'm so sorry I wasn't there." "It wouldn't have changed anything," I said. "Maybe made it worse. We spent the morning planning. The wedding we discussed would move up, a small ceremony before I started work. Unless you want to wait for the big wedding we planned," Michael said carefully. "I want to be your wife," I said. "The rest is just details." Margaret took me shopping that afternoon. Not for baby things, but for clothes that fit my changing body, comfortable shoes, prenatal vitamins. She shared stories of her own pregnancies, making me feel normal for the first time in days. "I understand you kept the relationship secret because of your father's position," she said over lunch. "That shows remarkable judgment. Protective instinct," very loyally. "My parents didn't see it that way," I said wryly. "They didn't see anything but the scandal." "They're blind," she said. "Their loss is our gain." That evening, the inevitable happened. The unknown numbers had been my parents, trying to reach me through borrowed phones. Then a text from Rebecca. "Mom and Dad are freaking out. Someone saw you at the Hastings estate. They want to know what's going on." I showed Michael and his parents. "What do you want to do?" Robert asked. "Nothing," I decided. They made their position clear. I'm not family anymore. But Rebecca called, and I answered on speaker. "Laura, what's happening?" "Mom's having a meltdown. She says you're at the Hastings mansion." "I am." "Why? How?" "She's convinced you went begging to Dad's boss. Or worse." I laughed bitterly. What could be worse than her pregnant daughter existing? I looked at Michael, who nodded. "The baby's father is Michael Hastings. We've been together 6 years. I'm staying with his family because mine threw me out." Silence. Then, "Michael Hastings, the boss's son?" "Yes." "Oh my God. Do Mom and Dad know?" "Nope. They didn't ask. Too busy calling me a disgrace." Rebecca was right. The meltdown was spectacular. My parents called Hastings Industries, showed up at the gate, security turned them away, even enlisted their pastor to mediate. Finally, Robert had enough. "Let's settle this," he said over breakfast. "Invite them for dinner here tonight." "Robert, no," I protested. "You need closure, Emily," he said. "And I want to look Gerald Carter in the eye when he explains throwing out his pregnant daughter." They arrived at 6:30 p.m., punctual even in desperation. From an upstairs window, I watched their sensible sedan look out of place among the manicured gardens. Dad wore his best suit. Mom clutched her purse like a shield. We made them wait 20 minutes, petty but satisfying. I wore a dress that showed my bump prominently. If they wanted to be ashamed, they could face what they'd rejected. "Mom, Dad," I said coolly, taking my seat between Michael and Margaret. Mom's eyes locked on my engagement ring, a 3-carat family heirloom. I saw her calculate its worth. "Emily," Dad started, then faltered. "You look well. The word you're looking for is pregnant." "We came to apologize," Mom said quickly. "Did you?" I asked. "Before or after you found out who the baby's father is?" Robert stepped in. "Perhaps we should start with dinner. These conversations go better on full stomachs." My parents stared at the silverware like it might attack. So Dad tried. "Michael, I had no idea you and Emily were involved." 6 years, Michael said pleasantly. "Emily kept it private to protect your reputation at work. Didn't want anyone thinking you got special treatment because your daughter was dating the boss's son." "That's very thoughtful," Mom said, brightening. "Very considerate." I cut in. "Unlike parents who throw their pregnant daughter out without asking a single question." "You have to understand," Dad said. "We were shocked. The pregnancy, no warning. I tried to tell you. You didn't let me speak before exiling me." "We thought you'd made a terrible mistake," Mom said. "The only mistake," Robert interjected, "was your reaction. Any parent worth the title would have asked questions. Who's the father? What are your plans? How can we help?" not thrown their child out like garbage. Now see here, Dad started, his face reddening. I don't need parenting advice from someone housing your homeless daughter? Robert's voice could have frozen hell. You're right. You need more than advice. You need a conscience. The meal dragged on in silence until Mom tried again. We're family. We can work through this. Are we family? I set down my fork. Was I family when you told me to sleep on the streets? When you sent my belongings with a note saying, don't come back? We didn't know about Michael, Dad said. And that matters? If he'd been a teacher or a mechanic, would throwing me out have been acceptable? They couldn't answer. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my calm surprising me. You're going to leave. You'll tell everyone whatever story makes you feel better, but you will not contact me, show up here, or pretend to be loving grandparents when this baby is born. You can't mean that, Mom gasped. Our grandchild. The grandchild you rejected along with me? I said. That grandchild? We made a mistake, Dad said desperately. But now we can be a family. I work for Robert. You're marrying Michael. We'll be connected. No, Robert said, his voice final. Your employment is safe as long as you do your job. But if you try to use this connection for personal gain, harass Emily, or show up uninvited, that will change. Understood? Dad went pale. 17 years of employment hung in the balance. Understood, he whispered. Furthermore, Margaret added, when people ask about your daughter, you'll say she's a successful attorney in Chicago. No details about her marriage or child. You gave up the right to share in her joy when you chose cruelty over compassion. This is kidnapping, Mom said wildly. Parental alienation. We'll sue for grandparents' rights. Try it, I said, the lawyer in me emerging. Illinois law requires a pre-existing relationship with the child or proof the parents are unfit. You have neither. Plus, I have witnesses to you throwing me out while pregnant. How do you think that plays in court? They stared, stunned. This wasn't their compliant daughter. I think we're done here, Michael said, standing. James will drive you home. Emily, please, Mom begged. We're sorry. I believe you are, I said sadly. Sorry you found out too late to benefit from the connection. Sorry you can't brag about your daughter marrying into wealth. But sorry for hurting me? For abandoning your pregnant daughter? No, you're not sorry for that. They left in silence, Mom crying, Dad stone-faced. I watched their taillights disappear, waiting for regret or sadness. You okay? Michael asked, wrapping his arms around me. You know what? I am. They showed me who they are. Now I can stop hoping for parents they'll never be. They're lost, Robert said. Now, let's talk about happier things. When would you like to get married? The conversation shifted to wedding plans, bar exam prep, the Chicago apartment Michael and I would share. My phone buzzed Rebecca again. Mom says you've brainwashed the Hastings family. What really happened? I showed the text to my new family. Margaret snorted. Brainwashed? We have eyes and ears. We see cruelty when it's in front of us. I texted back. They threw me out for being pregnant. The Hastings took me in. That's what happened. Believe who you want. Her reply was instant, I believe you. I'm sorry I wasn't there. It wasn't much, but it was something. Maybe not all my family was lost. Bar exam in 8 weeks, Robert said, bringing us back to practical matters. Think you can study while planning a wedding? Watch me, I said, hand on my bump. I'm good at multitasking. Michael kissed my temple. That's my girl. Our girl, Margaret corrected. Our daughter. She said it naturally, like it had always been true. And maybe it was. My parents had given me one unintended gift. They'd shown me what kind of parent I'd never be. My child would never doubt they were wanted, never question their worth, never have to earn kindness. They'd know love from their first breath to my last. That was my promise to the little one growing inside me. Now, Robert said, pulling out his tablet, let's talk about the wedding. Small ceremony, large reception. I looked at my chosen family, Michael, steady and sure. Robert, protective and practical. Margaret, warm and welcoming. This was what I'd been searching for. Not my parents' conditional approval, but unconditional love. Small, I said. Just the people who matter, the ones who show up. Perfect, Margaret said. That's all you need. She was right. It was more than enough. It was everything.